Part 1. The Inheritance. They say you can inherit more than blood. You can inherit silence. You can inherit weight. And sometimes, you inherit things that breathe when they shouldn't. I didn't cry when my grandfather died. I wasn't heartless, just distant. I hadn't seen him in years. My mother called it a blessing that he passed quietly alone in his chair. But when I arrived at the house for the reading of the will, I knew something wasn't right. He left me one thing. A box. Heavy, sealed, black as ink. No name on it, no instructions. Just a folded note tucked underneath the lid, handwritten in shaking cursive. Wear it only when you're ready. And if it stops, do not look away. That was all. I didn't understand. I didn't want to understand. I should have left it at that. But I opened the box anyway. Inside was a pocket watch. Silver. Ornate. Its back was engraved with a strange pattern, like roots wrapping around a circle. The surface was ice cold even though the room was warm. And when I held it, I felt a pulse. Not mine. Not imagined. Something separate. I closed the box and locked it in my bag. That night I stayed in my grandfather's house. It hadn't changed in 20 years. The same wooden clock on the wall, the same yellowed curtains, the same ashtray by the window still stained with the scent of his cigars. But it felt different now, like something was waiting. I didn't sleep. I kept hearing faint ticking. Not from the wall clock, from my bag, from the watch. I hadn't wound it. I hadn't even touched it since I locked it up. But the ticking grew louder, closer, until I could swear it was beneath my pillow. At 3:17 a.m. it stopped. The silence was so deep it hurt. I sat up. The shadows in the room were longer than they should have been, stretching, reaching. My reflection in the mirror across the room looked wrong, tilted, like it had moved before I did. I opened my bag. The box was warm. The watch inside was glowing, faintly from the cracks between its lid and case, just enough to see the time. 3:17. Frozen. I don't know why I put it on. Curiosity? Stupidity? Instinct? The metal was colder than before. It burned my skin. The moment it clicked shut around my wrist, the house groaned. Not creaked, groaned. Like something ancient had shifted in its foundations. I couldn't breathe. Then everything stopped. The next thing I remember, I was outside, standing barefoot on the frozen ground. The watch was gone from my wrist, but I could still hear it. Tick, tick, tick. When I came back inside, the hallway mirror was shattered. My phone was dead, and the front door was wide open, even though I had locked it with a key only I possessed. I should have run. Instead, I stayed another night. I started reading. Old journals tucked away in the attic. My grandfather's handwriting changed over the years, from confident, upright strokes to panicked scrawls. He wrote about the watch like it was alive. Not possessed. Not haunted. Alive. He wrote about the dreams. The visions. The strangers who visited him at 3:17, whispering things only he could hear. He said the watch showed him what could have been and what almost was. He said it gave him time, at a cost. He never said what the cost was. Over the next few nights, I kept it near me, unwound, still. But every night at 3:17, it ticked. Just once. Click. Like a finger tapping glass. I began seeing things. Not full hallucinations. Just fragments. Faces I didn't know. Voices with no mouths. A woman crying in a language I didn't speak. An old man burning letters in a fireplace, whispering "forgive me" over and over. And the tree. Always the tree. Black. Leafless. Covered in symbols. And beneath it, a hole. A hole shaped like the pocket watch. I asked my mother about the watch. She went silent. Then she cried. Then she told me never to wear it again. She said it took her father from her. Slowly. Not all at once. He stopped talking to them. Started locking doors. Drawing symbols on the walls. He said the watch wasn't a curse, but everyone else believed it was. And sometimes that's worse. She tried to destroy it once. It came back, sitting at the foot of her bed, ticking. I didn't believe in curses. I still don't. What I believe in now is time. The kind of time that doesn't just pass, it waits, watches, follows you into your sleep and sits quietly at the edge of your decisions. The kind of time that knocks once at 3:17 a.m. and whispers, "Are you ready yet?" The watch has a name carved on its inner lid. I didn't see it at first. It only appeared after I wore it for the third time. J. Kravich 1812. The name meant nothing to me until I looked it up. A watchmaker, lived in Prussia, died mysteriously. His final creation was said to be a timekeeper for the soul. He believed clocks could measure more than time, they could measure intention, consequence, regret. The pocket watch was his last invention. They say it disappeared after his death. But now it's here, with me. And every night it gives me 5 minutes. 5 minutes of silence. 5 minutes to choose what I see, or what I change, or what I bury. I still don't know why my grandfather gave it to me. Why he didn't destroy it like the others tried to. Why he kept it, locked it away, but never let it go. Maybe he wanted someone else to understand. Maybe he wanted to be free of it. Or maybe he believed I was the only one who wouldn't be afraid of what came next. The truth? I'm terrified, but I'm also listening. Because tonight at 3:17 a.m., it will tick again. And I think, this time, I'll answer. Part 2, the misunderstood curse. They say curses are born from fear. But what if what we called a curse was only misunderstood? The watch, this heavy, cold thing on my wrist, it didn't bring death. It warned of it. And not just warnings for some random fate, but chances. I started piecing together the history. There was Johann Kravich, the watchmaker. He lived 200 years ago in a cold town full of whispers and ghosts. A man obsessed with time, but not the passing kind. The kind that could be measured in heartbeats and regrets. He made the watch from the wood of a tree that grew on a forgotten burial ground, but not a cursed tree. A tree that held the memories of those who passed unjustly, who had stories left unfinished. The watch was his attempt to give people a chance, a warning 5 minutes before fate would claim them. It was never meant to be feared. But fear makes us blind. Decades passed. The watch changed hands. Some kept it hidden, others lost their minds trying to understand it. A soldier in the Second World War, Ilya, used it to survive battle after battle. He told me how the ticking saved him, giving him moments to dodge bullets, to warn comrades. But the weight of those saved and those lost was unbearable. He thought it was a curse. Because who wants to carry the burden of knowing death's next move? Then there was Maria, who escaped a fire because of the watch's warning. She buried it after, terrified of what she might have done if she failed to act. Her story was written in letters I found tucked inside the attic, forgotten memories stained with ash. What all these stories share is the same time, 3:17 a.m., the moment the watch stopped ticking. Not once did it bring death immediately, only silence, only a chance to act. I realized something. The watch was never cursed. The curse was how people reacted to the truth it forced on them. Most ran. Some broke. Few listened. I wonder now, am I among those few? Am I ready to listen, really listen, to what the watch wants me to see? Because every night at 3:17 I feel it pulling me deeper. Not to death, to understanding. They say time heals all wounds. But what if time is also the wound? The watch measures not just the ticking seconds but the moments we try to hide from. The moments we fail to face. Tonight I will not look away. Tonight I will face the silence. And maybe, just maybe, I will find the gift hidden inside the curse. Part 3, Truth in the Silence, Segment 1. Silence isn't absence. It's presence. I've learned that in these nights with the watch, time doesn't simply pass. It lingers, holds its breath, waits. And within that stillness, voices stir, not loud but soft, like shadows brushing against the walls of my mind. They call to me. Whispers at 3:17. At first, I thought it was my imagination playing tricks. After all, the mind loves to weave stories from the faintest threads of fear and hope. But this was different. Real. I see things. Fragments of memories not mine, but woven into the wood of the watch. A forest, dark and hollow, where the trees seem to watch, their branches like bones scraping the sky. A single tree standing alone on a hill, its roots wrapped tight around a hollow in the earth, the hollow shaped like the watch itself. And beneath the earth, a heartbeat. It is not mine. It is the heartbeat of the past, beating beneath the roots, whispering stories in a language only silence understands. I began to understand that this watch is more than a measure of hours and minutes. It is a key, a doorway, a link between worlds, the living and the remembered. Each tick carries the weight of lives touched and spared. Each pause marks a moment suspended between choice and fate. In my dreams, Johann Kravich appears, the watchmaker himself. He is silent, yet his eyes are full of urgency. He shows me the tree from which the watch was born, not cursed but sacred. A tree that grew from the soil of forgotten souls. Souls who were stolen too soon, stories left unfinished. The watch carries their memory. I see faces of those who were given a chance. A soldier who dodged death in battle. A woman who escaped flames that should have consumed her. A child who never knew what nearly took them. The watch is a promise, not of immortality but of choice. A chance to change the ending, to confront what others fear, to bear the burden of knowing and still choose to live. But it is not easy. The watch demands courage, to stare into the void, to carry the weight of time itself, to face silence when the world shouts to look away. I think of my grandfather, the man who waited for me to be ready, who carried this burden alone for years, who trusted me to listen, to understand. Tonight I will find the tree. I will walk into the forest and seek the roots that cradle the watch's power. I don't know what I will find, but I know I must try, because sometimes silence is the loudest voice we have. And sometimes the truth hides not in words, but in the stillness of time. Part 3, Truth in the Silence, Segment 2. The forest greeted me with silence deeper than any I had known. Not empty but full of waiting. The trees stood tall, their skeletal branches clawing at the darkening sky. Beneath my feet, the earth was cold and soft, like it remembered every step ever taken upon it. I moved toward the heart of the woods, the place I had seen in my dreams. The tree, alone, towering black as night. Its roots spread wide, tangled and knotted, gripping the earth like fingers clutching a secret. At its base was a hollow, perfectly round, shaped like the pocket watch I now wore. I knelt, placing my palm over the opening. A pulse throbbed beneath my skin, a heartbeat not my own but alive. The watch, I realized, was not just made from this tree's wood. It was part of it. The memories of the souls buried here were trapped in its grain. I sat there in the dark, feeling the weight of centuries pressing down. I heard voices, distant, faint, but unmistakable. Whispers in languages long forgotten. Lamentations, prayers, stories never told. And then a name, a voice calling, mine. Max. Was a summons, an invitation to step beyond fear, to accept the watch not as a curse but a gift. The watch ticked softly on my wrist. 3:17. The hour when time stands still, when silence speaks, when choices are made. I closed my eyes and let the silence fill me. Memories flooded my mind, flashes of lives connected to this tree, to this watch. A soldier dodging a bullet, saved by the warning tick. A woman fleeing fire, led to safety by a sudden stillness in time. A child hiding in the shadows, spared by a moment's pause. I understood then what I had feared to believe. The watch was not a herald of death. It was a guardian of life, a keeper of moments stolen from the edge of oblivion. But with that gift came responsibility, to carry knowledge others could not bear, to face the silence when it came, to stand between what was and what could be. I thought of the others, those who had worn the watch before me, some broken by its burden, some lost to the shadows it revealed, and a few who, like me, had chosen to listen. The path ahead was uncertain, but I was no longer afraid. I was ready. Tonight I returned to the house, to face what waits in the shadows, to keep the promise the watch had made to my grandfather, and now to me. The watch ticks again. 3:17. And I am listening. Part 3, Truth in the Silence, Segment 3. Returning to the house felt different this time. It was no longer just a building filled with memories, it was a place of reckoning. The air was thick with unseen things, heavy like the weight of countless secrets. The watch pulsed on my wrist, a steady heartbeat echoing in the silence. 3:17 a.m. The time when everything changed. I sat alone in the dark living room, the walls whispering with shadows. The old grandfather clock ticked on the wall, a pale echo of the watch's persistent rhythm. I closed my eyes and let the stillness wash over me. Visions came, flashes of the past entwined with the present. Faces appeared in the darkness, my grandfather's, stern and tired. The watchmaker Johann Kravich, eyes filled with urgent warning. Others I could not name but felt deeply connected to. They spoke without words, their stories etched in the silence. The watch was a bridge between life and death, past and future, fear and hope. I began to see the weight of knowledge it carried. Each owner bore the burden differently. Some were consumed by dread, unable to bear the truth they glimpsed. Others embraced it, finding in the watch a strange salvation. It demanded courage not to flee but to face what was coming. Suddenly the room shifted. The shadows thickened and moved, coalescing into a form. A presence. Not hostile but watchful. The tree. It was there in spirit, rooted in time and memory. The voice inside my mind whispered, "You are ready." I realized then that my journey was far from over. The watch was a guide, but the path was mine to walk. I had to learn to trust the silence, to listen for the truths it hid, to carry the gift and the curse without breaking. The night stretched endlessly, the watch ticking steadily. 3:17. The hour when silence speaks. The hour when choices are made. And I was listening. Part 4. The Gift of Time, Segment 1. They say time is a thief. It steals moments, memories, life itself. But what if time could also be a giver? A chance. A breath. A gift. The watch ticks on my wrist. 3:17. The moment I once feared now feels like a beacon. Not an end, but a beginning. After everything I've seen, everything I've felt, I know this. The watch is not a curse. It's a warning. A guardian. A reminder that every second counts. I've watched lives change because of it. A stranger saved from a car crash. A child spared from a fire. A family reunited because of a moment's hesitation. But the watch demands more than just attention. It demands action, courage, the willingness to face what others run from. Tonight I stand at the crossroads. The house behind me burns, not with flames of anger but of release. The watch glows faintly in the dark. I hold it tight, knowing what it means. I'm not alone anymore. The voices in the silence have become a chorus. A song of hope, of life, of time reclaimed. The watch's ticking is no longer a countdown. It is a heartbeat, a rhythm that guides me forward. I will carry this gift, not as a burden but as a promise. To those who came before, to those who will come after. Time is not the enemy. It is the gift we often fail to see. Tonight I answer the watch's call. I choose to live, to fight, to hope. Because sometimes the greatest gift of all is simply time. Part 4. The Gift of Time, Segment 2. The townspeople gathered, their faces etched with fear and suspicion. They called it a curse, a dark force that must be destroyed. But they didn't understand. The watch was not evil. It was a beacon, a light in the darkness. I tried to explain, to show them the moments saved, the lives changed. But fear has a stubborn grip, and ignorance breeds hate. They set fire to the house. Flames licked the walls, consuming memories and secrets. But the watch, it did not burn. It glowed softly amidst the ashes, a quiet defiance. I took it from the rubble, feeling its pulse steady and strong. It was alive, not just an object, a living memory of hope and warning. I laid the watch in the town square, open for all to see. Not to fear it, but to learn from it. To listen, to understand that time is precious. The whispers in the silence grew louder. Not voices of dread, but of promise. A chance to change, to choose differently. And I realized this was the true gift. Not just time, but the choice to use it wisely. The watch ticks on. 3:17. The hour that saved me. The hour that can save us all. Part 4. The Gift of Time, Segment 3. The night is still. The watch ticks steadily on my wrist, a heartbeat in the silence. I stand here not as a victim of fate, but as its keeper. The burden of knowing, yes, but also the blessing of choice. I think of all the lives touched by this watch. The soldier who escaped death in battle. The woman who fled flames. The child who hid in shadows. All given a gift, 5 minutes to change the course. And now it's my turn to pass that gift on. To someone else ready to listen. Someone brave enough to face the silence. The watch isn't just an object. It's a responsibility, a legacy, a reminder that time is the most precious thing we have. I remember my grandfather's words. Wear it only when you're ready. And if it stops, do not look away. I understand now what he meant. The watch stops to give us the chance to act, to confront, to choose. Tonight I make my choice, to embrace the unknown, to face the silence, to live fully with all its uncertainty and wonder. Time is not the enemy. It is the greatest gift, and as the watch ticks on, I pass it forward, to another soul in need of time, another heart ready to listen. Because sometimes, the greatest act of love is to give someone a chance, a chance to live, to change, to hope. And so the cycle continues, tick by tick, moment by moment. Life measured not just in seconds, but in courage. The watch ticks softly. 3:17. And I am ready. End of story.